Hey there, it's National Master Kevin Yang here with another video. In fact, this time we'll be looking at a game that I played once again against one of our fellow chess club members. So I'm basically holding this every Friday afternoon, Pacific time, 2 p.m. So I'll be on live chess. Just join the Carmel Valley Chess Club, and I could link that in the description, as well as maybe friending the Carmel Valley Chess account on chess.com in order to challenge me, or I can challenge you. Your choice of a time control, just come and play. Okay, so as I promise, I go over any games that I play against one of our chess club viewers or our chess club members. So in this case, I was black, so I played the Sicilian Defense. Knight f3, this is quite standard, bringing the knight out, keeping the center all controlled. d6, this is the main version, and here people could go with the open Sicilian. d4 takes, knight takes, and then white has ideas, playing here, maybe getting the bishop out here, or maybe getting the queen out here, starting an attack on this side. So white has all these ideas possible. Now another setup is check, right? Bishop d7, takes, takes, castles with the threat of d4, c4, getting the knight out. So these are some possible ways of setting it up. So my opponent played c3. In fact, this is a move. So I play knight f6, d4. Now, the main line here is bishop d3, right? Prematurely protecting the pawn. Another way to go about it, or bishop e2 is also a line. So it depends how you think of it. Bishop e2 followed by d3, knight d2. It's a slow approach. I used to play the move h3. And in fact, I can say that this was one of my shortest games that I won as white. So here's the trick. Can you figure out the reason why this pawn isn't hanging? So the reason why this pawn isn't hanging is because if knight takes here, then you look at the king, you look at the knight. Queen check. Threatens the knight, checks the king, right? So you have to block with either one of these pieces, and then the queen will take the knight. So that's why the pawn is not free, right? But my opponent played d4 here. And now, if takes check, this no longer works anymore because this pawn is in the way. So what I did is I made sure I took first, then takes. Well, my opponent actually had a choice here to play queen takes, but I knew that was bad because, for one, you could get the knight out with tempo on the queen, or you could develop the pawn up and put some pressure that way. Knight here on the pawn, right? So this pressure is all there, but okay. Opponent took with the pawn. I took the free pawn, bishop back. I mean, despite white being down a pawn, black has to play precisely because white is developing much quicker than black, right? So black has to make all these moves, but white already has knight out, rook out, bishop out. It just comes much faster for white. So I still have to play this very carefully. g6, knight c3, develop, castles, rook e1. Okay, so here I would say I'm safely up a pawn because I've managed to get these pieces out and I haven't taken that much damage from the enemy. So I think a better try, knight c3. So let's get back to the position. Knight c3 is good. Now I think we should have applied more pressure. So start with rook e1, bishop g7, maybe queen e2, pressure this guy, right? Knight c6, play knight c3, and notice that if I castle, then d5 will happen. Then I probably, I could play knight b4, and then maybe a bishop c4, right? But at least you'd apply some pressure on this pawn. So maybe that was a little bit better. Or you could play bishop g5 and try to exert once again some pressure on this guy, right? So I think when black is behind on this development as one of our opening principles, you want to take advantage of it. So in this case, unfortunately, black did get the pieces out, bishop c2, and now when the knight comes out, I'm looking to hit this guy, right? I retreat him so I can get a clear diagonal on this guy if the knight retreats, right? So that's my goal. So bishop c2 looks like a move that doesn't really come with a plan, right? Bishop c2, I think what white was intending is to double protect this pawn, right? But bishop g4 does a good job. So I think in this stage, right, what white should do is see what is black's threat. In this case, black's threat is bishop comes here, pin the knight, right? So the right move is h3, and this is what we call prophylaxis. I'll repeat it again, prophylaxis. So what this move does is it prevents black from being able to go there. So going there takes, right? So that is prophylaxis. But what my opponent did was bishop c2. I got this in, and I was pretty satisfied at this point. Bishop e3, and now I executed my plan. Knight d7. Getting the additional guys on guard, and then maybe putting in e5, right? So keep it on alert, right? We know he's pinned, so that's pretty important. So my opponent plays bishop b3. And it's not a bad move, but I wouldn't say it does much, since we saw as earlier, the bishop was here, moved there, and now came here, right? But I'm not sure if it did that much, right? There wasn't really an attack that I saw. So a little bit of an inaccuracy, but a good thought, right? Bishop b3, not bad, looking towards the f7, maybe trying to create some threats here, maybe getting the knight in. But I play bishop takes. I get a little greedy. Queen takes. Now I play bishop takes d4. Now I was thinking about knight takes d4. Takes, right, so this knight is threatening the queen. Takes. I was thinking what to do after queen takes, right? I thought, okay, I could play rook b8, right? Queen back, bishop back, and maintain my advantage. I could do that, pawn advantage, or went greedy for a second pawn. Take. And now I plan this. Takes, knight c5. Attacks the queen, attacks the bishop. He takes here. My plan was takes, get the fork in. Like that. That was my plan. Rook here, takes. Let's say rook takes. I trade the queen, right? So the best bet would be queen takes. I'd activate my rook out, get the rook out, get this rook out. So that was my goal. Okay, so let's look at what happened in the game. Takes queen f4, and I thought, okay, I like this knight, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to protect it. e5, queen h6, knight c5. Now, my goal with this move was maybe hop into the d3 square, get the knight to a better square, trade off maybe the bishop if I wanted to, so I could eventually play f5. He moved the bishop, and I went for f5. I wanted to grab some space on this side to maybe make this queen look really clumsy. Rook e3, actually a really good move. Threatening rook here, have to put my defenses on, getting the pawn up maybe, so really good idea. But I shut it down. I try to shut it down as best as I can. And now rook e1. That means basically that my opponent it felt like a wasted move, right? Usually in games you don't want to waste any of your moves because every move is important to winning a game. So rook e1, queen f6, and here my opponent resigned. In fact, I wouldn't say this is lost per se, but it was like, it was really tiring at this point because I had spent a lot of time trying to find a plan, and my opponent just couldn't see how to really defend, so he just resigned, in fact. Like, I had the knight coming in, right? I was going to get the rook out, get the queen here, pawn up, so that was my goal. But yeah, I guess maybe this was too early for someone to resign, but I can understand that my opponent was quite tired, and rightfully so. So, a really good game played by him. And I would say the first mistake came with d4. Takes, right? And the second was likely how I got my pieces out safely. And I wasn't really being attacked at all, right? So these pieces, you want to try to develop them to more active squares. Like, I like where this one is, but I'm not sure if there's a purpose of that here, right? Maybe it was better to go here instead of here. So, just those minor things. And now I'm just piling in on the center. I guess the third thing was being able to recognize that this pawn push would have stopped this move, right? So, continuing that game, I got that in, and then a fourth inaccuracy would have been this rook move going back. And other than that, it was, I tried to demonstrate what I do best with positionals, but it's a game and it's hard.